to doing what they want. This is purely fiction. Spells of blood magic, however, can have a strong influence on already willing prey of a singular vampire. Most blood drinkers are craftier than that, spinning webs of desire and hedonism and manipulating the people around them to surprising effect. Excerpt from The Survivor's Guide to the Underworld by Caliban of Taggerley. Bands of unknown metal scraped against Odran's callous wrist as the half-orc snarled at the back of the ones yanking the clinking chains that linked them. The red cloak bellowed in front of the prisoner as it hung off the shoulders of his captor, looking a sickly shade of black in the pale bluish-green light of the Witchwendil. The metal of the bonds and chains must have been made of iron, as a slight rash was beginning to form along his wrist amid the scrapes of the metal's rough edges. His snow elf lineage gave him a mild allergy to iron. His mammoth orc lineage, however, screamed at him to wrap the chain around his upstart's neck and choke him until his head burst like a berry. Unfortunately, the half a dozen bat-winged soldiers who flanked him might have overpowered him. Odran had never felt the urge to end a life before. He had maimed and brutalized, as was his training among his orc father. Killing, however, was a sin unlike any other, so taught his snow elf mother. He had kept that creed his entire life, until a warlock stole a piece of his soul that dictated his morality. Now his bloodthirst was insatiable. Still, the memory of his mother's teachings remained in his head, and he made play at sticking to them while he hunted down the warlock who stole his soul from him. To that end, he found himself being led from the outskirts of an underground city, entering the large and populated caverns of the Zotsran Underworld. His axe had been taken, and he was being dragged to the leader of these cretins to decide his fate. All he did was attack one vampire. The red-robed man yanked once more at the chains as Odran dragged his pace to look at the city around him. In his travels he had seen many things, but he was always halted by the unimaginable splendor of an underground city. The cavern was vast, and the buildings towered overhead in magnificent majesty. Some of the buildings were of dwarven make, with copper beams and massive cogs. Others were made of dark crystalline glass by pale elves in imitation of their homeland. Odran quickened his pace to match his captors and pretended to not be struck by the majesty of the city. They paced along the streets, passing curious onlookers who seemed to know the dealings of these men. They looked upon them with fear, and upon Odran with pity. Perhaps there was something to fear in these straw men after all. After several more twists and turns down the lengths of streets populated by nosy citizens, the captors stalled their pace in front of a manor larger than any Odran had seen on the surface. It was a strange and imposing structure, neither dwarven nor pale elf, with ebony columns of daunting buttresses making the manor look more like a dark and haunted cathedral to forgotten deities. The captors halted to bow to a figure carved in stone set upon the left side of the stairway leading to the front door. The statue was of man shape, its torso bare and its chest bound with some ornamental armor. Perhaps it was a woman for the curves of its hips. It crouched in hungry welcoming, as though ready to devour its guest in the carnage of its teeth. Its bat-like wings spread in ominous predation, and its cloven hooves set firmly beneath it. Odran passed the large statue as his captors drug him into the looming building, and he spent a few paces staring at it. He had seen a creature like this before, or some depiction of it lurking within his memory somewhere. He could not place where, and was forced to discard it from his memory as he was yanked once again through the large and ornate double doors of the building. The foyer opened to a magnificence equal to the city outside, with decorations and tapestries galore. The dark atmosphere and blends of black, gold, and red swirled throughout the open hallways that the half-orc was drugged through as he was pulled deeper and deeper into the manor. He was brought to another set of double doors, these ones of an imposing blackened bronze, which practically sang in haunting chorus as they opened. Inside, a red carpet with golden tassels led to the back wall, where another statue of the same fearsome figure from outside crouched in menacing majesty. This time, its bat wings were curved toward the approaching captors and their prisoner, and set between its feet was an ornate throne of black metal spiderwebs and black velvet cushions. Sitting upon it was the most beautiful woman Odran had ever seen. His heart stopped, and his breath went out at the very sight of her. She sat in elegant yet relaxed posture, her long, slender bare leg crossed over the other, draped in the skirts of a silken red dress. Her curves made pulses of heat go from Odran's chest to his loins. Her shoulders bare told the story of a sensual enigma that, no matter how much he explored, would remain forever beyond his reach. Her face was round and gentle, yet her red eyes pierced to his very heart. Her brown hair fell in delicate waves down past her shoulders, and her head was set with a crown of blackened metal and sparkling rubies. Her bat-like wings folded upon her like a cloak, the stem of which sprouted from her lower back. Her red lips, full and plump like ripe, juicy fruit, curled into a warm smile as she spoke.
"Jareth, my darling."
Her voice was like a purring dryad, and watching her throat move made Odran want to kiss it.
"Always a pleasure when you bring me someone in chains."
Lady Lacramioara, the red-cloaked man, evidently named Jareth, bowed before speaking. "Queen of the Azarel Coven in the city of Ennukalmara, we bring you this prisoner, who was brazen enough to interrupt our feeding ritual."
"Must you trouble me with every issue?"
Lacramioara let out a groan of lazy frustration, so soft Odran might have mistaken it for a sound of pleasure.
"Rip him apart, feed on him at your leisure, and be done with him."
"My lady," Jareth bowed in acceptance, though his tone and his words seemed to offer some alternative. "This Half-Ork blasphemed the name of our blood god by cutting off one of our vampire's wings."
"Where's your wings at, buddy?"
Odran piped up to taunt the man. Something about being in Lacramioara's presence made him want to prove himself.
"Or are you jealous since you already had to be told twice?"
"Sanguiphages do not have wings, you dog!" Jareth turned and slapped Odran's face with the back of his hand, which was wrapped with the chain. Blood came from Odran's mouth, and some from Jareth's hand mixed in. Jareth gave a long, taunting lick of the blood from the back of his hand.
"A half-orc, you say?"
Lacramioara sounded genuinely intrigued.
Let me have a look at him."
Jareth and his winged soldiers stepped aside to allow Lacramioara to approach Odran from her dark throne. As she descended the steps and walked slowly, deliberately, sensuously towards him, several thoughts swirled into the half-orc's mind. What is a sanguiphage? He had never heard of such a creature. Who was this woman who commanded so much respect? What did her fair, brazen skin feel like? Vampires were monstrous creatures back in Odran's home continent of Feyland, a scourge of savage beasts like orcs. Here, in the land with underground caverns populated with many strange beings, vampires seemed to have their own culture. They spoke Imperial Common, they lived in houses of impressive decor, and they had customs not unlike the elves. In Feyland, vampires did not speak, but snarled and roared like beasts. They lived in dank caves like a horde of savage bats. Odran had always regarded vampires with absolute disdain. This vampire walking towards him, however, was a creature Odran wanted.
"Mammoth orc, I see."
Lacramioara purred as her thin, warm fingers touched his lips and examined his tusks. Odran's heart leapt and flipped once at the touch.
"Big, strong mountain man? And the ears? A snow elf."
Lacramioara said the word snow elf with such astonishment and glee that she might as well have discovered a long-lost treasure. Her eyes pierced his and lingered there for a moment before floating casually down his frame.
"Take off your furs."
Lacramioara's order sounded more like an invitation. Odran shed his fur long coat and shrugged from it, leaving him shirtless before her.
"Very strong indeed."
Her fingers gently caressed his bare chest and abdomen, and silence filled the room. None of her servants spoke, and no thoughts came into Odran's mind with which he was able to speak. After a deep breath, as if putting herself back into her own senses, Lacramioara spoke to her servants.
"You were right bringing this man to me."
She spoke in proud and exalted tones.
"Though I do not think he will die today, I have uses for such a man as this."
Thank you for listening to this snippet of Odran the Half-Ork by Archer Rain. To hear the full audiobook or read at your own pace, follow the link in the description to subscribe to my Patreon. I'll see you next week with another snippet from Odran the Half-Ork series. Until then, have fun. Bye-bye.